Okay, today I'm interviewing Mr. Vish. Before we start, Mr. Vish, can you tell us what are your section teachers? Like, what do you give?
Yes, hi. I teach middle school English as well as advanced English to Cambridge, upper school, year 11, 12, and any post 16 classes, adult English as well.
Okay, first, how did you get this job?
About 5 years ago, whilst I was in the UK, I came across St. Fatina's School, and Mr. Nader, who is the chairperson of the board, had written a very nice sort of introduction to the school's philosophy. And I read it and I thought about it, and I sent an application form through. And I think they were quite happy with it. And he made the arrangements for us to fly. And of course, we thought Egypt would be a great idea to come to. And my wife and I decided to come to it.
Okay, why did you choose this career?
Well, when I was 24 years old, I began a career in medicine, just like my father was a cardiologist. About 3 months into my career, I became quite disgusted with something called vivisection and dissection. When you stand around the body and you slice the abdomen open, there's an intestinal gas that escapes, and it has a really awful smell. And I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
So I said to my dad, I want to change my career altogether. And I went into teaching. I had a scholarship, I went to England, and that was it. I didn't look back.
Yeah, like you didn't hesitate?
No, well, my first choice was medicine, but I think it was purely because my family kind of pushed me into medicine that I really went into it. But I found my calling in teaching.
Is it an easy job or it's a difficult job? And what are the difficulties if it's a difficult job? What do you face?
I'd certainly be in admiration of anyone who said it was an easy job. No, it certainly isn't just an easy job. It has, every day has its difficulties, and sometimes it's easy periods. There's ups and there's downs. Some of the difficulties I face are probably the communication process. The fact that I don't know the language as well as I can. Arabic is not easy to master, so it makes it a little bit challenging for me to communicate with my students. But having said that, we establish a rapport and a relationship, and everything works out fine.
What do you see like, how to be an excellent teacher in this job? What are some factors?
Okay. One has to be, as a teacher, firm yet fair. If you're firm and fair in your classroom management with behavior, that's the first, we call it the building blocks of success. Preparation for your lessons is extremely important, and having a positive attitude at all times. Every child matters, and every teacher should see that as a class, there are little gems hidden there, and we should encourage these gems.
Did you ever have a funny situation as being a teacher in Egypt?
Oh, I certainly did. About 3 years back, I was managing the primary school, but I was doing a lesson in class, and I bent over to my computer to plug in a flash drive, and I heard a ripping sound from behind me. Little did I realize that my trousers had split down the entire school. And the class stared at me in stunned silence. And I knew something was right. So I could feel a cool breeze behind me. I couldn't quite fathom where it was coming from. But the lesson had just ended, so I walked out the door. And as I'm walking down the corridor, a student comes running along and says, "Mr. Fish, your trousers!" And I bent down and I felt behind me, to my horror, it was torn completely. So, holding my dignity as best as I could. I ran up to the principal's office and asked for a taxi to be bought there so I can get home quickly and change.
If you could go back to the past, would you change your job or just remain?
I think that teaching is one of the most rewarding careers I've ever experienced. No, I certainly would. I'm very happy with my choice. I think it's taken me to beautiful parts of the world, South Africa, England, and now Egypt. And I think that the experiences that I've enjoyed are something that you cannot share easily with anyone. They're personal and beautiful, and they develop you as a person.
Where do you see yourself after 5 years?
Having completed my PhD, I probably would either be lecturing in England at the University of York or somewhere in Italy at a university. And I think it's going to be a tight toss-up between the two. I've taught Italian students before, and I really like Italy, probably Tuscany. And I've lived in York before, so I'll have to make that decision when I get there.
Where would you like to teach next?
Like I said, probably England or Italy. And these are the universities we reach.
What are some advices you want to give to someone who's going to work on your place?
Well, who's going to work and take my place here?
Yes.
Well, I think that one needs to have...
Who want to work the same job you're working?
Yeah, I think one needs to have a degree of motivation and enthusiasm and good-natured energy to infuse into our students, to make sure that they are motivated, to make sure that they are invigorated and overall inspired. I think that someone who's well-read and understands literature and loves poetry would be an ideal candidate.
Who's your idol?
You know, that's a difficult one. I've got so many different idols. I sort of draw the qualities from each one. If I had to pick one idol, I'd probably have to say, okay, I'll have to narrow it down to two. Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhiji were probably two of the most respected people in my ideologies. One for the policy of non-violence and peace, and the other for following a democratic and open policy.
Okay. What do you most like and dislike in this job?
Right. I think one of the things that we need to bear in mind is the dislikes come from the geographical circumstances. And in this case, sometimes when you're under pressure in the classroom with bad behavior, controlling bad behavior becomes really difficult. So, yeah, I guess that that might be something that we could strive to work with. What I do love about the job is inspiring children and seeing them love to learn. The lights of knowledge is built in their eyes and in their minds. And when they're inspired to learn, I feel that I've completed my job as a teacher.
Why did you choose teaching?
Like I said, initially I went into medicine, and it was only after I decided to drop medicine that I went into teaching that I became a teacher and knew how much I loved it. Well, the reason I love teaching is because I learn so much. When I'm teaching, I learn. And I'll tell you the truth. When I'm in the classroom, it's almost as if it's my acting space. And this is theatre. And I feel that when you're on stage, you have an audience there. You can really inspire them and be inspired by them. So that's probably my ideology towards it.
Have you ever felt that you want to be an actor?
I have done lots of plays before, and I guess we're all actors on the world stage, aren't we? As you walk into the classroom every day, you drop your home facade and you become the teacher. And that in itself is an acting capacity that you uphold.
What do you think about the problems that happens between you and the students in class?
I think that every situation can be resolved, even though it may seem at that point in time somehow difficult. Problems make you stronger. If you find conflict in the classroom, it means that you've got to learn from it. You've got to find a way around to make it work. At the time, sometimes tensions run high, but later on reflection, you learn how to deal with it.
How do you act with a troublemaker in a classroom while you're teaching?
Usually, I tend to have initially a quiet word with the student. It's done once on a warning. If the behavior persists, I give a second warning, followed by a third. Thereafter, I either ask the student to leave the classroom, whereupon they sent to their head, or the student is asked to stay behind for detention with me at a appointed time. Upon which then I counsel the student, I try and deal with the conflict in a conversational manner, I try and resolve it. If there's no resolution, parents are contacted.